Looking back at the events of my diagnosis from the age of 38, I remember details differently than my mother does. Mom remembers a 4-hour trip from our home in Vegreville to the Southern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium in Calgary to watch The Phantom of the Opera. She vibrates with excitement as she talks about the performance of her favorite musical. I remember the same trip. Fog so thick that my stepdad, Jim, drove home from Calgary with his door open so he could see the white line on the asphalt. That evening, a couple of fingers on my left hand were numb. It wasn't the first time this had happened. They were colorless instead of their usual rosy pink. After Jim had safely brought us home, Mom went off to the library to do some research. Mom discovered that numb fingers are also associated with a host of conditions, including pinched nerves, carpal tunnel syndrome, peripheral neuropathy, and multiple sclerosis. My concerns had begun with the loss of my ability to succeed in sport. A week earlier, at track practice, we were running through the hallways of Vegreville Composite Junior-Senior High School because it was raining outside. The only obstacle was the janitor's pile of dust. My track coach jogged up alongside me and said, "You have to strike the ground with your heels first." "What?" I stammered. I was confused. I never thought about running, I just ran. "The first part of your foot to hit the ground should be your heel." He jogged ahead, running past the cafeteria and the signs advertising French fries and fried rice. I was mystified. I thought I had been running on my heels, but I realized I was running on my tiptoes, like a 3-year-old. Mom made an appointment for me with Dr. Todorvich, our family doctor, who had delivered me 15 years earlier. After Mom described her concerns, and I discussed my trouble running, he asked, "Would you mind if I watched you put on your pants?" I was perplexed. I leaned against the wall for balance while I pulled up my jeans. "Sit down on the examining table." With both hands on the table for balance, I used the footstool to climb up. I looked at him. He was looking at his clipboard. "I think you either have a brain tumor or multiple sclerosis. I'll schedule an MRI so we can find out for sure." Dr. Todorvich left the room, saying he'd be right back. My mom and I waited in the small examination room. Neither of us said a word. The fluorescent lights hummed, but all I heard echoing through my mind was brain tumor. I would die a tragic death. It had the ring of a heart-wrenching romance, like the scene with Megan Follows in The Dory, playing the Lily Maid in the Anne of Green Gables miniseries. To that point, my only experience with multiple sclerosis was through the yearly MS Readathon. I asked my neighbors to pledge 10 cents for each book I read. I now think the Readathon is an appropriate fundraiser for a disease characterized by mobility impairment. In the hospital, I lay on a skinny stretcher that rolled into a metal cylinder. During the MRI, there was a lot of clanging. I breathed consciously to control my claustrophobia. Mom and I waited for the results in the neurologist's gray waiting room. Once we were in his office, he showed us images of my brain on a backlit whiteboard on his wall. He didn't take his eyes off the images while he delivered the news. "Jen does have multiple sclerosis," he continued. "I don't like to deliver this news to someone so young, but..." But what? I was 15 years old. At the time, that was considered young for a diagnosis. Multiple sclerosis was usually diagnosed between ages 20 and 40. Improvements in diagnostic technology since then have shifted the average age to between 15 and 35. Mom and I were shuffled to an adjoining office to see a nurse for after-diagnosis care. My mom asked one question. "Can she still have kids?" Kids? First described by French physician Dr. Jean-Martin Charcot in 1868, multiple sclerosis is a neurological disease characterized by the demyelination of nerves. Demyelination removes the insulation around the nerve fiber.